about building design system. So let's start from who I am. So basically, I'm Michael, and I'm a software engineer at OLX, and I'm also an author of a blog called Lazebny. You can check out it. I write about some architecture, Dart, Flutter, all of that. And I also have a Telegram channel called Notes. So in case you're using Telegram, you can also check out it. I know it's not popular in Poland, but anyway. So I would like to start my presentation from agenda, of course. So this is agenda for our day for my talk. Basically, I would like to start from talking about what is basically design tokens, how we can implement them, basically colors, text themes, typography, all of that. Then we will learn how to implement components, basically reusable components that use those tokens, how to make them beautiful, how to make them actually reusable, how to make them nice to use. Then I will talk about a bit about responsive layout, so basically about breakpoints and how to manage it again in a kind of beautiful way. And as a last chapter, I will be talking about some sort of how you can actually showcase your design system, or like components or parts of your design system, basically in a separate application. So let's start. And I would like to start from what is a design system. So basically, to put simply, it is a collection of reusable components, design tokens, and all of that fancy stuff. It can contain guidelines, and basically there are multiple types of design systems. Basically, they can be broad, for example, like material, or like more specific ones, for example, the ones that we implement for other projects. And usually we actually implement more specific ones that contain components, colors, typography, all of that stuff. And but they don't meant to be like very customizable or used across like large amount, for example, of projects and suit the needs of everyone. And they can be also based on other more popular design systems, like material. Probably the material is the more prominent one for us Flutter developers. So, to start with, I would like to recommend you to put all your design-related things to a separate package, or library, how to name it. Basically, it should contain all the things that are related to your design system, like components, tokens, maybe breakpoints, and any other things that can be reused. This is quite good because it supports like decoupling from your main project, and it can be actually reused between multiple projects. And this is where it actually becomes interesting. So our first chapter is design tokens. I prepared this, not prepared, but I stolen this beautiful animation from Material Docs. I hope you like it. So, what is the design tokens? Basically, design tokens are the building blocks. Of VDI. What it means? Basically, you define some sort of like the most prominent example of a design token is colors. Or typography, e.g. texting. So you define a set of colors, for example, and you can use those colors across your application. And you can easily change them. And this is what I'm going to talk in this chapter. We will implement design tokens for colors, for typography, and for surprisingly padding. So let's see how we can do it. So Flutter provides a thing data class. I believe you all know about it. The thing is that a thing data is a configuration of a material design system. So basically it defines the styling for all material components such as buttons, text fields, up bars, all of this stuff. And one great thing about theme data is that it supports extensions. And this is where it becomes really interesting. Basically, instead of coupling our implementation to material, the theme data, we can actually add some extensions, some custom values to it. And yeah, this is a great thing. Let's see how we can do it. So I hope you can clearly see it. So on the right side, I attached a screenshot of a theme extension for colors. So basically, it's a simple class that extends a theme extension. It contains all the colors that your application has. And I removed other colors because it will be so big. But here you can see the background and foreground. And there are two methods, copy with and lerp. So I believe you know what copy with does. So basically it creates some instance of a class but with a new value. It is required by the interface of theme extension. I don't know why, but it can be pretty useful as well. Maybe it uses it internally. And a lerp method. Lerp method is maybe a bit more complex one. So what it does is that it does a linear interpolation. So to put simply, it makes it possible to animate between two values. For example, you're switching from light to dark text theme or text theme, color scheme. And instead of making a blink, you will actually see a smooth animation that like 200, 300 milliseconds. That is pretty beautiful. And yeah, it can be configured, etc., etc. Same goes for textiles and typography tokens. I usually like to add that suffix like tokens. Basically, again, a same class, but with textiles and again, the lerp and copy with method. The lerp method actually pretty easy to implement because all those classes that we use usually inside of our tokens, like double, textile, and color, are all already implemented that lerp method. So basically, what you need to do is to just forward those parameters into those methods. And now, pretty surprising, probably for majority, I believe, padding tokens. So why do we actually need them? Basically, as you can see, there are like 5 levels of tokens. It's not the best practice how to organize that. I just created it for example. So basically, you can have some defined values for paddings, and why it is very useful. Let me give you a small example. Imagine you have thousands, let's say hundreds of screens, and on every screen you have a heading and a body text. Between that heading and the body text, you have like a body like 16. One day, your fellow designer decides that, hey, I think it will be much more beautiful to actually add a body not just 16 but 24. What you will do? Of course, if it's implemented manually, you will go to that 100 screens and change that value. I mean, you can also use that find and replace in your edits, but again, it can replace the values that are probably more correct. So basically, it can change the correct values. And so this is a monotonous and routine task. How we can make it beautiful and more like architectural, right? We can actually make some abstract tokens. It depends on you and ultimately on your designer how you name it. So here I named it like level 1, level 2, level 3, etc., etc. But it can be like XS, M, L, etc., etc. So in that case, in that example, you will simply need to change a value. For example, imagine it was a level 2 that had 16. And what you will need to do is actually update the value of level 2 to 24. And that's it. It's like 1 minute instead of hours of monotonous work. A good practice is to combine those tokens into a root UI. So basically, a root token is your theme. It contains all the tokens that you all the tokens that you have in your application. So basically, what you will do is like tokens, colors, background, or tokens, typography, and display large, something like that. It also implements those cookies and blur methods. But just forwards again to the implementations of tokens. In order to actually inject those tokens into your theme, you need to create, you need to add add the tokens to extensions property of your theme. So how it looks like is that you can see in this build theme data method, you can see that extensions property. And basically it's an array of tokens. You can add as many as you want. And to be honest, as many as you add is better. Not always, but I believe it is good. Yeah, that is it. You need to add your tokens to extensions. You can create such a helper method that I did here. It's pretty useful, to be honest, because you can configure other fields of the theme data, for example, a text selection theme, because it is, if I'm not mistaken, it is not configurable in components itself. For example, you can have like selectable text or something like that, and it will not be very useful and actually convenient to change this text selection theme everywhere, if it's even possible. The next step would be to actually put this theme to your application, basically to Material Lab. Yeah, that's it. Material Lab has a theme property that you can simply add your value to. In case you're not using a Material Lab, you can use a theme widget, or even if you're enthusiastic, you can create your own. And for example, if you're using Cupertino app, yeah, it's very rare I see those guys to use Cupertino. Anyway, this is what you can do. Basically, how to access those tokens. You created tokens, you provided them into a theme, you provided the theme into Material or anywhere else, and now it's time for like the sweetest moment to access those values in your components. So to do it, you can use that theme of context method, and it has a method called extension. So it simply returns an extension your extension that is registered in that theme data. A good way to handle it as well is to create extensions on build context. This way it will be much more convenient because you will need to do just like context, colors, etc. And context typography. That's it. And another very good thing about it is that it creates an abstraction layer, so that if one day, for some reason, you decide to actually move away from a theme, for some reason, I don't know why, but it may happen, and you can actually move to another widget without changing all your code base. In the bottom, you can see how to use those tokens. So basically, in the color box, you provide the colors background. And yeah, if I change the tokens, for example, from light to dark, this will be automatically updated with a pretty beautiful animation. Here we're coming to the next chapter, the components. And again, a very beautiful animation. I hope you like it, because I like it very much. Yeah, again, stolen from Material Docs. Unfortunately, you cannot put them, but at least I provided the ASR sources. So, yeah, let's start. In this chapter, we will implement a few components, basically some buttons and a text field, and surprisingly a checkbox. A checkbox. So my first advice before actually starting to implement something is to don't over-engineer it. To be honest, this is one thing I'm still struggling with, but I learned along my way to try to not to over-engineer things, because I like to do something from scratch, like something like that. And I believe many developers love to do these things. Like creating something from scratch, why not? I'm very senior developer and I know how to do it. So yeah, my advice actually is not to do it, unless you know what you do. The reason for it, for example, for buttons or for other components, is that there are so many corner cases that you can't even imagine about. For example, if talking about like Android TVs or like even TVs environment, the only way you navigate by the components is like tab traversal. So basically, you're clicking those buttons on your remote control, and it focuses the next or like lamp, button, etc., component in the screen. And yeah, there are actually much more, but this is the case on top of my head. So, to start with, I would like to tell you about widget state property. So, what a widget state property is? Basically, it is a way to map a state of a component to a certain value. Imagine, you have a yeah, actually, you should not imagine, I provided some code here. So, there is a text button, and it has some weird colors, but don't pay much attention into it. So, in case it's focused, it should have a foreground color of blue accent. And in case it's pressed or hovered, it should be blue. And if it's any other state, it should be red. So, basically, this is a way to map the internal state or states the component currently in to a certain value. This is also heavily used across material ecosystem because, in fact, in the past it was named like material state property. So basically, they just renamed this thing. And to better understand this idea, I would love to give you an example of a text field. Imagine a text field with border, and you want that border to be red when it's error, and have a primary color when it's actually focused. So, yeah, what you will do is you will create some sort of widget state property and just return those borders based on the state. I actually have an example in the following component, so yeah, you will see how it looks in real life. So here we come to buttons. And yeah, buttons, I don't know why, but I really love buttons. And I really love implementing buttons. I believe I have made implementations like thousands of times, each different one. Today I want to share with you some implementation that I really love about buttons. So what all buttons share? Their properties. Yeah. Apart from that they're buttons, they share some properties. So all the buttons have like background color, foreground color, size, shape, maybe elevation, text style, and all of those things. And Flutter provides a class that is called button style. I believe most of you have worked with it when you needed to customize some text button or any other button that the material has. So, in fact, there are like around 40 properties in that button style class, and as you can see, can look a bit messy or less readable or something like that. And in fact, if you are creating, for example, 4 buttons like primary, destructive, outline, all of that, you will need to repeat some of these values and some of the shared logic probably. So I recommend a solution to this to make it look a bit more pretty. So again, about over-engineering. We will create a custom button style. So basically a button style that extends our button style that extends the button style, right? And we will define only those properties that our design actually requires. For example, for my showcase needs, I needed only those tokens, background color, foreground color. Actually, I can take a look at my laptop, shape, and disable shape. As you can see, it contains some sort of reusable logic. For example, a text style. Basically, all the buttons should have the same text style, subjects. And actually, the icon color probably should be, again, different, the same as the foreground color, basically the color of the text. And if we do not create such a class, then we will need to duplicate all of this logic on every screen, and I mean, it will work, but yeah, will not fulfill my perfectionism. And however, it's absolutely a working solution, and in case you, for some reason, want to do it, absolutely go for it. At this moment, I would like to drink some water. So we are going to do button variants. Okay. So button is quite interesting component because it has it usually has multiple variants. For example, primary, secondary, destructive, icon, anything your designer can imagine. Yeah. And what I actually love, it's not absolutely mandatory, but what I love is to create a sort of a namespace for the button. So that, I mean, there is a sealed keyboard, but I mean, it can be abstract class or something like that. So the core idea is that you define some abstract class and define some constructors, like 4 parents. And it also can have some shared logic, such as enable it or like effective on pressed queue. So basically, if on top is null, then it's disabled. Or if, or here I also have a possibility to pass not only on pressed as null, but also just a field, a parameter that may make a button disabled without actually passing the on pressed as null. It's what I really like about custom buttons. So now let's take a look how we can implement some variant. And as you can see, the implementation is very, very beautiful and small. Basically, what you need to do is to define some sort of parameters as in normal widget. Don't look at formatting because, like Flutter 3.29, like I believe you feel this now formats everything and it doesn't look pretty. But okay. So what you need to do is to define some sort of widget, and simply it will return a material widget, material button. In this case, it is fill button. And what it does is that it simply provides all those parameters and also a style. So it styles the button accordingly. And as you can see, it's like 20 lines and pretty beautiful. And this is how it looks like, by the way. And I also wanted to show you the icon button. You can see the picture is pretty much the same.
except the fact that we also add a disabled shape. So that because the icon button has a border around it, and if it's disabled, it should have some opacity, so that it looks like disabled. Yeah, again, this is how it looks like in enabled state. I forgot about the disabled state, but you believe me, it works. I will show actually in following slides near the end of presentation. And this is how you can use those widgets. I believe this sounds really interesting, no? Because, for example, we can use that namespace like UI button, then just like dots, and your IDE automatically suggests some variants for it, and you don't need to share, or you don't need to find all those variants in your code base, because they're like in one namespace called UI button, or how you name it.
At this point, I would like to also talk about text fields. And as you can see, this is a text field we're going to build. So again, the same thing as with buttons. If your text field has multiple variants, you can do this thing. It's absolutely not mandatory, but this is the thing I like. And I believe if you have multiple variants, it's pretty useful and helpful. So, however, in this case, usually we don't have much variants for text field. Yeah, probably. And for this case, maybe it doesn't make sense to create it. However, if you have like one variant of a text field, like let's say default, and then like a specific text field for fonts, then probably you can also follow this approach. Yeah, and this is the implementation of the text field. So again, the core idea is that we are simply putting, we're using the built-in SDK components, like here we use the material text field, and simply provide all those parameters, logical parameters, which is important. So we don't expose the styling parameters, such as like styles, colors, borders, all of that stuff. Basically, we expose only logical ones, like controllers. Yeah, controller is a good example. As you can see, I offered you a border. No, I was talking about the border here, and as you can see, yeah, border uses this widget state property as well, but keep in mind that some of the properties are actually named a bit different. For example, in this example, it is widget state input border. Under the hood, it implements both border and widget state property, so it can be passed to both places where one, for example, where one uses a widget state property and next one uses a border. But you should be cautious because second approach is actually you need to pass so that properties only in places that actually support it, that offer support for it. Otherwise, you will have some errors. So text field supports it, so that's great. And here I would like to share some best practices. And the first one is to actually create reusable components. So it sounds obvious, right? Instead of using multiple components in place, it's much better to create a reusable component that you can reuse everywhere. Even in cases when, let's imagine there is a case like as with checkbox. I mean, who works with checkboxes, right? It's like very rare component used, for example, in filters and settings, and maybe that's it. And you might actually think that well, it's pretty rare component. Why should I put it to our design system, or like UI kit, to our package? Why should I actually? Why should I do it? And the main thing is that it's likely that you will need it in the future. And in the future, you will again probably duplicate it. And things becomes much worse when you're working in teams, especially large teams that need to share some knowledge, that require knowledge sharing. And in that case, it's much better to move the component to your shared library, or at least create a separate file and import that file from other components as a temporary solution. The next one is following SDK conventions. So SDK conventions is what about basically following the naming conventions of SDK. What it means is that instead of naming your parameters in a way, in some custom way, you can name it as they are named in SDK. Instead of, for example, of controller, instead of controller, you might think come up with text controller, but actually controller will be much better because, again, we are all Flutter developers and we have a huge knowledge, I believe, we have a huge knowledge of material because we're like, this is the most popular implementation of widgets in Flutter. And what will be more easier to find, a controller or a text controller? Or if you, for example, you will name it like not a text controller but some state manager, I'm not sure. And for example, it will be much harder to find. And then you will need to go to documentation, you will need to ask some other people, and so on and so on. So just eliminate this thing. And the last one is to keep widget stateless. Whenever it's possible, I recommend to keep the widgets stateless. It doesn't mean that you keeping the widget stateless only in your design system. I'm not afraid of stateful widgets, so all good. The thing is that with this approach, you're following actually how SDK works. So the widget that expects some input, or some input, can handle the state, and this is the thing you might come up with. So you might actually create some variables inside of your widgets that somehow synchronize the state, and basically you do not need it because the parent widget cares about the state again, and there will be duplication and there will be challenges with state synchronization. So the good variant is also much more simpler. And here we come to my, I believe, favorite section, responsive layout. I think that nobody does, but I believe next to talk about it. So, what is a responsive layout or responsive UI? Let's put the responsive UI. So, a responsive UI is basically UI that is accessible on multiple device dimensions. For example, a screen that works good for both mobile phones, tablets, desktops, and if you're like Monster or TVs. And I mean not only scaling the UI. It's not about the scaling of the UI. It means about adapting to the requirements of the platform. So, for example, on a small screen, you can show, like on a mobile screen, you can show a bottom navigation bar and some drawer. On a tablet, you can actually show the expanded drawer. And on a desktop, you will not show a bottom navigation bar, and you will show some sidebar. Basically, the responsive layout is about this thing. So it all starts from attention of someone. Ideally, it should be your designer. If not, so keeping my fingers for you. So ideally, you should have some defined breakpoints, like small, medium, large, anything your designer comes up with. For example, material has
I forgot the first one. Like medium, expanded, large, extra large. Okay, and yeah, I will show you the first one, the compact. I remember. So what you can first when you after you receive the breakpoints, what you can do? You can define a class that actually contains a logic to understand what a breakpoint is. So you can use any method for it. For example, you can create a class that wraps a size and add some extension methods on it. So I used extension type here, which is
looks pretty beautiful again. And what I think about it, it's basically defines some breakpoints or thresholds for your breakpoints, right? So if a medium is starts at 600, expanded starts at 840, and so on and so on. And you can have a map method which maps those properties to based on the width of your screen. So if your screen is smaller than if the width of your screen is smaller than medium, then return compact. If the width of your screen is smaller than extra large, return large. Otherwise, extra large, and so on. Additionally, you might want to add some counter methods to it, such as a maybe map or map with lower fallback. Map with lower fallback. I very love this method, and I will try to prove you the same. So how it works? Basically, it defines. Imagine you have a device in extra large dimension, and yeah, extra large dimension. But you have your screen implemented only for compact and expanded dimensions. What this method will do, it will ask, hey, do you support extra large? Hey, no. Do you support large? No. Do you support expanded? Yes, and it will return expanded. And this is pretty useful for cases when you don't want to care about responsivity probably on the start of writing the code. So you can simply return a compact, and all other dimensions will go to compact. But later on, when your designer finally come up with mock-ups or with designs for it, you can implement this thing, something like that. And I really love it. I don't write responsive very often, but sometimes this method works like a charm. And we need a way to actually somehow access those breakpoints, how to get them basically. So what we can do is that we can create some sort of a scope. You all work with scopes like media query, focus scope, other scopes, and here we simply get the size from media query and return our inherited widget with that breakpoint. We simply run the size with window size with that extension type, and it adds the methods needed like map with lower fallback, and all those things. And this is how you can use it. So basically, you can get your breakpoint from a context and then use that method. Very simple thing. And it looks, to be honest, I really like how it looks. And here we come to the final section, the final boss of our presentation, the presenting components. To be honest, a better name for it would be presenting design system or designs or something like that, but I forgot to change it. So, first of all, why do we need to present something? There are multiple reasons. Why do we need to present not something, but why do we want to present the design system and your components of design system? So there are multiple reasons for it. Basically, The first one, which I really like, is that you can foster your communication with designer. Basically, you can implement a preview of a widget that makes it possible to override the properties of a widget. For example, test how that widget behaves when it has very large text, when it's in large size, for example, or when it's in dark or light theme. You might need that, and designer can just verify the behavior of your component under certain circumstances. Then it's about also knowledge sharing. When you're working in larger teams, you need to somehow educate others how to use some packages. And when you have a preview of your design system, you can simply give them a link, and they will see, okay, we support that widget. Okay, we don't support it, like that. And this is the thing that I really like. And the third one is about testing values yourself. So if you, for example, developing some button or other component, I really love buttons, so let it be a button. So if you are developing a button, you would like to test how it behaves with long text, with icon, with different icon, and so on and so on. And for this reason, you can also test it and foster the testing and maybe improve the quality. So a very, very probably popular solution, as you can see, it has 200 downloads, is Widgetable. What it makes it possible to check how your widgets behave under, under certain circumstances. As you can see on the right side, it provides some parameters. So that, for example, you can change the quantity of avocados or mangoes here, and check how your widget behaves. And on the left side, you have all the tabs that you added. And I think it's a good solution. It works. I don't think it's a good solution actually, but yeah, it works. But my take on it is that we can do some over-engineering and create some custom library for it. Not a custom library, but some other custom solution. And actually, I created one. But preparing for this presentation, I created a simple solution like a few hours in the evening. Let me just first of all say what motivated me to do it. First of all, I believe Widgetbook and its alternatives have some problems with state, and it's pretty hard to make real stateful flows. For example, imagine you have a text field, and then you enter something into that text field, then you change a theme, and I forgot. And that text from a text field actually disappears. And there are other cases. For example, it also reset the state of navigation when you, for example, start a widgets inspector. That's it. It is a wrapper around a lot of libraries. And what I don't like about the libraries is when they start limiting you. And this is what I felt deep in my heart. And for this reason, I created a simple implementation. Here you can see it. How it works is that you can change the parameters in the right sidebar, and it updates the component being tested. For example, here you can change the themes, icons, all of that. And as you can see in the address bar, it also automatically updates the links and supports big links, so that you can give it to your designer and take a look at this button, again button. So take a look at icon button I implemented. Does it look good? And yeah, they can test it and see how it's working. So I will not show you how this solution works deeply under the hood, but I will show some high level perspective. So basically, there are two types of tabs. A widget tab. A widget tab is basically a tab for a preview, and a tab for and the folder tab, which is basically a collection of tabs. So, for example, buttons. You will create buttons folder tab, and then inside of it you will create 4 digit tabs like primary, secondary, destructive, icon, button tab, something like that. Again, this code doesn't pretend to be best practice or something like that I recommend, but it is like a food for inspiration or something like that. So you can implement something better. But what I actually thinking about it is that I will probably make it a template, so that you will be able to clone this project, and basically you will own that project, and you will be able to do whatever you want, even add some getters there. Yeah, that's probably it. Now let's take a look how we can actually add a new tab. So basically, just create a simple widget and mix in the widget tab. Then provide a title. Based on those titles, the deep links are generated. Yeah, that's it. And then in the state of that widget, you can create the actual preview logic. What it means? Basically, I created a widget preview widget that you can see returning from the build function. You don't need to pay much attention into it. This function just returns previewable widget and a sidebar. So a sidebar contains some options, basically what we have seen previously. That theme, that label, icon, etc., etc. And actual previewable widget. So it just uses those values from those controllers, like label controller or enable controller in this case. And again, this is how it looks like. So the sidebar is on the right, and the previewable widget is on the center. The very good thing about it is that the developer experience is like very sweet. You will, I really enjoy it compared to widget book and storybook solutions, because I can develop the component and don't care about refreshes or reloads or something, or state refreshes, etc., etc. And yeah, this is how it looks. This is how it looks like. If in case someone is interested, I posted, I have published it to GitHub repo. Basically, all the code that was in this presentation is in GitHub repo. I probably will update it in future iterations, probably future months, when I find some time. But generally, I really enjoy this solution, and I hope someone will too. Then, the last slide, actually this anonymous QR code is my LinkedIn, so if someone wants to join, connect, let's do it. I will keep updated on that preview. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for your attention.